Case study 3, banking versus software. We touched on business models in a previous module, but we'll talk in more detail in this case study. So we'll start with linear versus nonlinear models, capital intensity and fragility of the business, the turkey problem, then convex versus concave payoffs, the reality that some businesses have variable costs to zero before concluding the case study. In a linear business model, margins remain constant regardless of scale. When I say constant here, I mean mostly constant. There is operating leverage, but margins in a linear business model cannot explode to 60, 70, or 90%. Because, as I say, marginal costs do not tend to zero. You are a coffee shop, you are an airline, you are a trucking company, you sell electricity. Each extra unit of the thing you sell has a variable cost, and that's why marginal costs do not tend to zero. However, in a nonlinear company, margins expand dramatically with scale. Beyond break even, every extra user, every extra unit that you sell, margins expand dramatically. And this is because marginal costs do tend to zero in this business model, or at least they reduce disproportionately. In the nonlinear business model, however, margins expand dramatically as the business scales. After break even, each additional user that pays, each extra unit that the business sells, you see margins explode. The business could be at 0% or 5% margins at $1 billion in sales, and with a 30% increase in revenues, margins could go to 30, 40, 50%, depending on the leverage in that business model, etc. Of course, every business is different. This is a generalization. And the reason why margins expand dramatically with scale is because, in this case, marginal costs do tend to zero. Touching on capital intensity and leverage. Traditional banking needs more capital for more returns. If return on equity for a typical bank is 5, 8, 10, 12%, depending on the cycle and how well run the bank is, that ROE cannot simply explode to 20, 30% and stay there. If that bank wants to make a bigger bottom line, they will have to employ more capital. And the traditional banking model is fragile because of leverage. That's how banks work. You have $1 of equity, $10 of assets, and $9 of liabilities. That's a 10x assets to equity ratio. That explains a capital intensive model. On the flip side, software is capital light. You do not need more and more money to make more money, because after you develop your software and start selling, depending on how big the market is for what you're selling, there is practically no limit to how much you can make. But also, a software company does not need leverage to operate. Selling software is not inherently a leveraged model. The turkey problem. The nature of the banking business model makes it fragile and makes it prone to events explained by the turkey problem. And it's called the turkey problem because you have a turkey which is being fed 1,000 days in a row. And naturally, that turkey, up to Thanksgiving Day, believes that it will continue to be fed just like it has in the past 1,000 days. However, one day that turkey gets a surprise. And the chart here explains, this is from Nassim Taleb's famous